Hi, my name is Mariam Yakub. I am a Women Techmaker ambassador and I work as a data analyst. I am very passionate about technology and I'm actually very interested in contributing to the tech industry by empowering other women to start their career in tech as well. So I'm here, I'm pleased to be here. Yeah, so I would say right from the beginning, I have always wanted to be in the tech industry. So for my undergrad, I studied computer science with mathematics. That was when I sort of like started developing that interest in tech and everything data. Then I went ahead to do my master's degree in data science and computational intelligence, and I started working as a data analyst. So it's been something that I have sort of like developed that interest right from the beginning. But I would say you don't really necessarily have to have a degree before you can actually go into data science or data related career. So my advice basically for anyone that's just starting off would be, yeah, definitely, even if you're from a different background, you can transition into data as far as it's something that you're passionate about. The data industry is quite blooming. Everyone is using data to their advantage. So, yeah, it's a very, very important aspect of tech. Especially at the master's level, I think what the assumption would be that you have like a background in tech, so and in programming as well. So they kind of like don't teach you like the basics or the in-depth of programming and all of those things. So it's more of like self-development. So and aside that, you have to do a lot of self-development aside what is being taught in school. It's just about the interest and picking those extra skills by yourself. Yeah, and in terms of like the branches, yeah, I can agree that they seem like a very two different areas. But then in all, you would sort of like see some commonalities around using data and probably forecasting and some of the tools like Python that you have mentioned. Yeah, it's been used in data science as well, SQL. Yeah, they are like they have their differences and similarities as well. So yeah, it's a nice area that you're studying, and I feel like it's sort of like a niche that could actually give you that what's it called, a higher, what's it called, specialty in data science. So yeah, it's a good one. Personally, I like Python. So I have used R as well. So I think the thing is about the two languages will be it's one is best used for statistics, which is R. But in terms of Python, Python is a bit more straightforward and flexible as to like adapting into different sort of like areas and data. So personally, I like Python. Not to say R wouldn't do some of the things that Python also do. So yeah, and in terms of like how to sort of like start off, yeah, I think Python is like the main language for data science or data analytics. So yeah, I would say try picking up a few of Python skills, learning, and I think for in terms of like programming languages, Python is quite something very straightforward, so easily grasp. And yeah, SQL, yeah, definitely you will need some SQL. And yeah, in terms of visualizing data, I'll prefer Tableau. Not to say I can use Power BI as well. There are other um, BI tools like Looker as well. So yeah, it all depends on what you want and what you're more comfortable working with, and also the organization. So I've worked with different organizations that probably use Power BI and Tableau, or so it all depends on the settings as well. Tableau, like it's a very great visualization tools in terms of like collaborating and also learning from examples and templates that are already out there. So yeah, so I think PyCharm is actually very good in terms of like helping you with some sort of like completion, code completions and all of those things. And also, yeah, I actually like Google Jupyter Notebook. Yeah, it's a very great platform as well in terms of like interpreting and also collaborating with other people. And yeah, those are like I mostly use Jupyter Notebook. I think it's not news right now that we women are being like underrepresented in the tech industry, and it's that there's been a lot of like talks and a lot of like things going on in terms of like bridging that gap. And I feel like it's quite important to actually bridge that gap and also encourage a lot of women to come into tech and also participate in terms of like innovations and all of these things. So I think women actually has a major role to play in tech, because when you look at it, if innovations are based on just one side of a representation in terms of like gender, there are tendencies that there are biases as to how some of this tech and innovation work. So, take for example, the seatbelt, the car seatbelt is being designed and was being tested by a male, um, like all based on the male gender and not necessarily considering the female. I think it's just of recent that innovations and work that started being done around that area to sort of like also represent the women, and also think about some softwares and some of this text that we use, so that if the women are not sort of like involved in the process of actually building these softwares, there are tendencies that there is that bias of this actually works best for this other side of the gender and not including the women. So yeah, I think it's something that's quite important for women to actually get into and get involved, not to be afraid to step out and actually contribute to the industry as well. And I think with a lot of communities like the Women Techmaker, we are already starting to see women coming out, sort of like have that courage to come into the industry and start building things and start developing their careers. So yeah, it's something that's growing. I think it might take a while, but I feel like if we start to sort of like build that idea and sort of like solve that problem from the grassroots, by encouraging the young girls in the still in the secondary schools and primary schools, they can easily sort of like have that courage to start something and build their career in tech. I think the whole essence of the International Women's Day is to actually make the women feel represented and celebrated. Yeah, we are women. We should be celebrated every single day. Like we build nations. So yeah, definitely it's a good initiative so to sort of like celebrate women and also encourage and support women who are struggling with maybe career wise and all of those things, to sort of like encourage them and also support them. So the team Dare to Be is, yeah, to my understanding, is just giving that push, or let me say that avenue to the women that you should be like dare to be whatever you want to be without looking back, without holding yourself back, without having some sort of thought that I will be judged or I'm not good enough. Just dare to be that strong woman that you want to be, and dare to challenge any typical or stereotypes out there that says women should not be doing this, or women should only be doing this sort of career or something. So yeah, I feel like it's a great theme. Dare to be strong, dare to be yourself, dare to challenge, and dare to be a leader. Yeah, so to be honest, I think it's just I think the it's just the upbringing that we sort of like add from the very old child, that okay, maybe science is meant for this set of people. You can't just say you want to go into science if you're not very good with maths, or if you're not very good with arithmetic, or all of those things. Yeah, so I think that's where communities like Women Techmaker comes in, where and other um, communities who are actually starting to sort of like encourage young girls to make them understand that yeah, science is not it doesn't have to be all robotics, or it's something that they can try and dare to actually try and succeed in. So yeah. And you know, the interesting thing about this is it also goes to be around. So say for example, I am coming from a science background and I want to sort of like do something around the art. So yeah, I would say I might have a challenge around documenting and sort of like writing down in terms of like writing papers and all of those things, because art itself, is another skills that actually have to learn as well, in terms of there are a lot of technical people who sort of don't know how to express themselves, or express their knowledge, or put down their knowledge in terms of like writing, or even just communicating as well. So I think it's just about learning the other side of things. So you coming from an art background into science, it's just about understanding the techniques in on how to sort of like go about the science way. And also if you could go in from science to art, you still have to sort of like learn that skill as well. And I must say I'm actually very proud of you, because yeah, a lot of I see a lot of young women who even doesn't even want to try, or just get discouraged by having a C or something. But yeah, for the fact that you had that C, and that you took that as um, a step into the right direction, and also identifying the problems and finding the solutions to it. Yeah, so I must say you're doing quite a great job. So well done. Yeah. So, and that's what's going to set you out from someone who's just been into the science all through, because that science part, we don't necessarily get taught around maybe storytelling or something you have to sort of like pick up as an extra skills by yourself. But you already have that storytelling background. So it's something you can easily incorporate into data science, and also like help you give you that edge over someone who's probably coming totally from a science background and no storytelling background. So yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, and just one of my simple tips, and this is kind of for everybody on the storytelling side, I always think of it as a triangle. Your story is a triangle. At the top of the triangle is who are you? And one of the bottom sides is going to be what's your mission? And the third is who's your audience? And so when
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, you're always kind of putting into high relief what aspect of you want to share that's going to have the most value to deliver your mission to that particular audience.
Yeah,
And in the middle of
exactly.
that is your story. So if someone's like wanting to come up with that, like how do I start my story? Just write a whole bunch of things about you, or start with your mission. What are you trying to do here? Who are you doing it for? And then what pieces of yourself do you want them to know to get that credibility and help with that transformation?
Wow, seems like a very good technique, and I think that from now on I would always remember that triangle rule. Yeah, brilliant.
And actually, the triangle is part of a pyramid because technically, if you really think about it, we oftentimes serve multiple audiences. So you can
Mhm.
usually come up with four different audiences in your message, and that you have slightly different missions for them, and you have slightly different aspects of yourself. So even if you're talking to a large group, it's not one audience. There's different
Yeah.
people in your audience. Like the media might be there. You want them to know certain things about yourself. Your peers may be there. Someone who's brand new may be there. Someone who you want to totally impress, who's at the top of the pyramid, is there. And so you have these different aspects that you want to share. So that really creates the sort of larger, instead of a circle, now you've got a sphere. Instead of a
Yeah,
triangle, now you've got a pyramid. So
yeah,
you can think of sometimes when you're looking at, or the other thing is, even if you're only doing a triangle of communication, the idea is that in practicality throughout your career life, we're constantly shaping our messages to these different audiences, but they should
yeah.
have integrity. That someone sort of walked around your pyramid, they could say, oh, I see you talk to the media this way. I see you talk to your boss this way. I see you talk to your peers this way. I see you talk to the person that you're mentoring this way, but they're all similar. There's an integrity.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And also in terms of like when you are actually telling stories, you also have to sort of like factor in how you want to visualize things to the different audiences as well. There are say take for example, there are people that might be a bit more technical than the others. So you would want to sort of like strike a balance or like choose the right words sort of like explain what your story is. So yeah, I agree with that.
And that was another thing that's come up in this, is the sense of belonging and the sense of inclusion, and things that we as women can do to help each other is affirm that sense of belonging. And part of that sense of belonging is empathy. And there's a lot of people, English is not is not their first language. And
Yeah,
or in one case, one of our guests is in Germany. And German is a new language for her, that she's able to do her studies in English. She speaks multiple languages and dialects from India, but she is really a new learner in for the most part, quite proficient. But there's definitely a line of inclusion versus exclusion. People who say you're learning, you're doing your best, you're coming a long way. How can I help you? How can I make my language, my communication simple and slow, and make sure you're understanding it? Versus those who speak very quickly, use a lot of idioms, and are very dismissive if you don't understand and you don't get it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's just something about it's just quite important also to sort of like create that empathy um um avenue for people because yeah, we come from different backgrounds. What we're used to in probably a background, it might be what a new thing in a new environment as well. So yeah, it's quite important to sort of like create that diversity and inclusion um, opportunity and let people sort of like give time for people to sort of like learn and pick up new skills, languages, culture as well. So yeah,
And language is also not just a foreign language, but programming is a language. And so
yeah,
when we're also speaking to people, to make sure that we're catching them at their level and helping to elevate them, not dismissing them and pushing them down because they're not there yet. So when we're learning programming or learning data science or tech, we're also learning a new language.
yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
and even when I'm learning digital map making, there's so much in cartography that I did not know. Things like that. The real shape of our globe is a meatball.
Yeah, right. Right. So,
Uh,
yeah,
I appreciated when our professor said that. I was like, I can understand that, and I can share that with a fourth grader, and they will get that too.
exactly. Yeah, they would definitely remember that.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
we're learning about geodes and geodesy and ellipsoids and the fact that it's like squished at the equator and bulges in the
Mm.
center. So I'm learning a lot about the fact that our how map making and math are very important, and understanding that we don't live on a perfect sphere.
Yeah.
And when we look at 2D maps, they need to be projected, and so there's all sorts of bias and distortions and how we choose our distortions and the social impact of those distortions, because it's impossible to properly represent a globe on a flat surface. So you have
Mm.
to make choices.
Yeah, right. It sounds so very interesting, and it seems like something I even want to go into already. Yeah, because yeah, yeah. because it's something practical. So yeah, it's very nice.
So it's taking data science, and then it's just adding the spatial data science. It's making sure that that data it has a when we started spatial data science, all your data can just be listed with a country, and so you could create a
Mm.
heat map just based on countries.
Yeah,
So it doesn't
yeah,
have, and then, or it goes, specific latitude, longitude, and you can bring in all sorts of data. So now you're just bringing all that data onto maps.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Or even if you visualize on a graph, it's based on location data.
Oh, right. So how, okay, would that then be in terms of like region versus what the numbers are
You just
or
basically start to look at your data to see where, as you start to see things that have any connection to place.
oh, right, right. Yeah, now I get.
It also, but the idea is that it's place and or a store, or if you have multiple stores and you want to sort of compare and contrast, like how different stores perform.
Yeah, in terms of like the location, the region, yeah, what's so peculiar to certain regions that might affect sales in this area. Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
So yeah, and so yeah, if any, or just when you see a data set that just has location information, that know that there's a whole world of possibility of how that can be represented.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and
totally.
I would like for me, I'm like, I would like to see more connection and collaboration between traditional data science and spatial data science. And so data
Yeah,
scientists like yourself can easily come through and make maps as you need to.
yeah,
And those of us who are learning the map making can easily come and make any other kind of analysis that we need to. And so
so
that's the piece that I'd like to see a little bit more fluidity and connection and collaboration between those two sides of data science.
yeah, I think I agree with you because I think when the two parties actually meet and then collaborate on certain projects, you can sort of like bring your idea of maps and that specialty and me coming with the data science, more of like a data core. The mixture, I think, is something quite interesting, and we could actually work together to sort of like build and analyze and forecast so many things. Yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
I
no, I
would
love
look.
that. So let's wrap this up. This has been fantastic. I'm so joyful that you're here and that you're sharing with our audience. So, what thoughts, advice do you have for people who might be starting out in tech or just wanting to just get some encouragement as a woman in tech? And here, as you know, as we celebrate women just around the world through International Women's Day, and obviously we spread it out and we make it 2 months.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, women should be celebrated every single month. Yeah. So, yeah, my advice for people who are starting off in tech would be try to sort of like identify what you're interested in. I feel like no matter the background or area that you're coming from, there is there would definitely be an area in tech that you can actually incorporate or bring that skills into and perform wonderfully well. So the first would be to identify what your interests are, what your passions are, what would like you would like really like to sort of like contribute to in terms of like adding like value and incorporating or using say science to make better innovations sort of things. So that's one. And then two, don't ever feel less, don't ever feel discouraged. Definitely when you're moving from a certain area to another, you would encounter a bit of challenge. um, I think it's just normal to sort of like fail at some point, but I think there is no success without failure. So you just have to sort of like learn from it and then pick up yourself and then continue with whatever you want to do. As far as you have that passion, you have that goal, you should always remember, why did I even start this in the first place? So yeah, don't feel discouraged, to sort of like go for what you want, to put yourself out there. And also, it's important to sort of like surround yourself with communities that can actually help you and support you in terms of your development and opportunities as well. So those are like my key advice for people coming into tech.